Hey, greetings there, everybody. It's Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we did the last Alliance capital on World of Warcraft Classic when we explored Darnassus with our Night Elf Druid. Like the Tauren level, there were some fairly extensive quests that sent you back out into Teldrassil. Being a druid, we also had some druid quests. So we have Moonglade yet to explore. We'll do that at a future date. I'm in no rush to do that, despite the fact that we visited there. And then back and forth. Once you go back and turn it in, there was another bout that was sending you back out into Teldrassil. So I went and finished. I didn't finish it, but I walked myself back out there after because the video was running really long. I mean, it's not so much the time as it is the way that time intersects with real life. Until I become just a professional World of Warcraft player, I have to balance those things out. So, I also, please forgive me, I missed the fishing vendor and the fishing trainer in talking to every single NPC. So, they didn't say anything. That was too busy. They probably told me that I smelled bad or whatever. We have also been reading the World of Warcraft Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting, the role-playing game, and we are kind of making our way through the last few books of that now with the Horde Player's Guide. We started that a couple episodes back, and we read about the new Horde races, just a few, the Mok'Nathal, the Forest Troll, and the Half-Orc. So stay a while and listen as we move on to Chapter 2. This is a longer chapter, but it's actually got less lore. So this one's going to just all be about new classes and class options. So this is a breakdown of what we're going to cover. The Orc racial class, because remember, at this time of D&D, you could pick up a few levels in just your race as a class, which I don't love that. I like the way they do it now better, where as you level up, you can get more and more powerful just naturally. As your race, but no need to pick up classes with it. It's boring. Why would you ever do that? Some variant classes, some racial iconic classes. So it says they're variant classes, but basically it's just like kind of like the characters we made in World of Warcraft Classic, and some creature classes. So if you wanted to, I guess, have a player character that was a creature, how to level them up, and then a few extra feats to wrap it up. So the Orc racial class, it doesn't really give us a ton. They can pick up Favored of the Spirits as a power. Basically, they're in tune with their ancestors, and they can gain a sacred bonus to ability, and they gain some natural rage, even if they're not a barbarian. Okay, so that's about it. That's the only new racial class. The variant classes, we have a melee hunter. I like that. That's like the kind of like the survival hunter. So that's cool. As this game is going on, we are, let's take a peek actually. This is page 14. So if we look back, this one's coming out same time as the last one. So we are right closer and closer, if not at the point where Burning Crusade is out. But you've now got survival hunters. So it says, despite the obvious benefits, some hunters focus on their talents on melee weapons. Those brave individuals take up a spear and axe. Really, they take up a staff, maybe polearm, and stalk creatures until they're close enough to pounce. They revel in the danger of their actions, feeling an unparalleled rush when they bring a deadly creature down in equal combat, especially if they use their bare hands. The melee hunter's animal companion assists its master by distracting the enemy and flanking it. The melee hunter's aspect of the pack is especially useful. And not to mention, they would use bombs. So here they gain a Savage Strike. It says it's like their Sting, but melee. They get Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite. Those are the moves from the game. Mongoose Bite, they can twist out, and if they miss, they can then do an opportunity attack. Killer Strike, so it's kind of like the Kill Command. They gain a bonus feat. An aspect of the Hawk instead would apply to their melee weapons. That's cool. Can also be a Wandering Hunter. They're more familiar with the land. This would be closer to being like a Tracker Ranger. So more RP. You wouldn't pick it in the actual video game. Aspect of the woods, desert, aspect of the desolate, the winds of the mountains. So basically, they're better at certain things. If you're aspect of the woods, you gain regen. It looks like the desert, you gain fire damage with your ranged attacks. The desolate, resistance to cold and fire. The winds, you get shot on the run and spring attack, basically movement as you attack. In the mountains, you'll get extra in stamina and armor. You can be an uncorrupted necromancer or warlock. That's pretty cool. Now that's similar to like how I see the warlocks now. There are some strong enough to resist the will of the Legion and the dark powers they wield, and they bend their will to mastering demonic and necromantic secrets while remaining immune to the taint. These are the uncorrupted necromancers and warlocks, and they spread both distrust and hope wherever they go. Some even announce themselves openly in the cities of the Horde or Rare the Alliance and make their unique talents available to their affiliation. So that would be all of the warlocks and necromancers, which there's not really any of those, that you see in the city in the game. They're technically at least claiming that they're uncorrupted. It just says they don't suffer arcane corruption, but the trade-off is they get less power. Okay, Battle Shaman. This would sort of be like the Enhancement Shaman I'm rolling right now in Classic, where he's almost like a tank. So you get some extra heavy armor, shields. They get good on their melee attack bonus. It says you can have multiple variants if you want it to be a hidden uncorrupted warlock, as an example they give. Wrath of the Spirits, the Shaman also get. They get like once per day, like what's that monk move where you can kind of insta kill at the end, which is the reason why even monk tanks can like have these huge bursts of DPS. They basically get one of those. Farseer Shaman. This is actually a thing in the game from a warlock. Well, not a warlock, from a lore perspective. So they are less battle heavy, and instead they get animal handle, ride. They gain a foretelling ability. They can summon more spirit allies, extra kind of clairaudience, clairvoyance with a sight of worlds and glimpses of the future. Kind of like it's almost like mixing some of the melee of a shaman with a divination spec mage, which I always thought that was the dumbest spec. And then I guess in 5th edition, I actually rolled one, and it was, I don't know, it's not too bad. Divination spells are actually pretty useful, and then the talent to basically like spot die multiple times per day and then use them in key moments, pretty OP. Okay, so the hidden warlock says due to the fact that no one wants them around, warlocks are unwelcome in both the Alliance and Horde. No one wants them around. They're evil beings who consort with demons. When the Horde discovers a warlock in their midst, it's an unpleasant day for the warlock. Nevertheless, the call of the Burning Legion is strong, and members of both the Alliance and the Horde don the warlock's dark robes. They operate out of secret basements and lurk in alleyways, but they still exist, gripping their secrets with both hands. These hidden warlocks are more prevalent in the Horde, with both Orcs and Forsaken taking up the mantle. So they basically add some spells to their spell list, and that's it. So they they remove some spells from their spell list. Yikes. So they get to add certain spells and remove certain spells. I see. So they gain some less evil-ish spells, but they must also lose some of their spells. And that allows them to basically masquerade as an arcanist, because they can cast these other non-evil spells, or mage spells, or whatever. Okay, so racial iconic classes. Basically, these are super specs that will make you like a RP person, like the Forsaken Witch Doctor, aka the Apothecary. It says, when people think of witch doctors, they usually don't think of Forsaken. However, Forsaken are some of the most skilled alchemists on Azeroth, and while they don't entreat voodoo spirits for help and don't call their craft mojo, they still possess tricks to make their brews especially potent. Yeah, if you remember, we had the Apothecary special. I mean, the Witch Doctor class was a variant that we read way back when. The Forsaken call themselves apothecaries, and the greatest among them enter the ranks of the Dark Apothecaries. The iconic apothecary is a withered Forsaken standing in a laboratory. Beakers and cauldrons bubble and spew horrible vapors into the air, and strange fleshy creatures mew and gurgle within black cages. So they don't gain Witch Doctor spells. Instead, they gain extra dark potions. So they gain potions that can do necromantic spells. They gain Dark Study, which is more necromancy. They can craft a syringe to basically give them this melee weapon to deliver their potions with. And it increases the potency of them. And they gain improved potions to be better with it. So that's pretty cool. So the Jungle Troll Witch Doctor, just straight up Witch Doctor, but you are also going to be a Jungle Troll. It says they're the ultimate Witch Doctors. It was they, so they say, who invented the art. Their pots ever bubble with strange concoctions, and they scatter protective and decorative totems around their dwellings. They speak in tongues most can't understand, communing with the strange and dark voodoo spirits that grant them their power. They decorate themselves with ritual tattoos and designs, and shrunken heads dangle from their staves. The iconic troll Witch Doctor focuses on helping the allies with his strange blend of science and faith. He plants magic totems to help his allies and gives them powerful draughts before battle. He's not a particularly skillful combatant, but when the Horde's in a scrape, somebody calls for the doctor. All right, so it says that they can't spontaneously cast cure or inflict. So they're a little bit weaker than like a cleric or priest or whatever you want to call it. Instead, they can use their totem spells. So they gain extra totem spells. They also gain fetish spells, and they can craft their own totems. So that's something you'd have to go look into that class to gain what that means. But this just makes them a little better at it with the loss of the turning undead and the healing. Half-ogre hunters, we're looking at Rexar here. The mighty sons and daughters of Nath are natural hunters, having spent long years in the wilderness. They have a natural rapport with wild animals, and even those who are not hunters often enter battle with loyal, trained companions at their sides. They seek to discover the essence of combat through observing and mimicking wild beasts. Kind of reminds me of Gau from Final Fantasy VII. Or not 7, 3, 6 technically. Most half-ogre hunters also take the melee hunter variant class. Those who don't use massive composite longbows, something to which they can apply their great strength. The iconic half-ogre hunter emerges from the woods of the desert on the eve of battle, silently taking her place next to her allies in the Horde. A great bear or lion remains by her side, looking docile enough but growling when others get close. The hunter hefts her axes and looks to the horizon. She breathes deep, savoring the smell of the land and preparing herself for the conflict to come. So these are hunters that gain the Summon Nature's Ally spell, and it gets more and more powerful. So I guess they're even more associated with a pet, and they can call a companion pet. So basically, you're just you lose some of your shooting. You're basically a Beastmaster hunter to lean into your pets. The infamous Orc Warrior. Orcs have a long history of warfare. Their race has been battling various creatures for ages. In the past, many orcs embraced their demon-born bloodlust and became barbarians. In recent years, the orcs' discovery of their spiritual and shamanistic traditions has allowed orcs to focus and refine their savagery. Many orcs still become barbarians, but the way of the trained, disciplined, and canny fighter, the warrior, becomes more and more common. The iconic orc warrior is garbed in chainmail or leather and plate. He carries a battle axe and strong wooden shield and wears a horned helmet. He crouches in a battle stance, shield and axe at the ready. As he evaluates his opponent, then with a fearsome yell, he strikes in a blur. So they gain axe focus, axe specialization. They do get extra attacking against humans, and they get an extra powerful rage, which is cool. And the Tauren Shaman, these are definitely some icons. I've got the Orc Warrior, the Tauren Shaman. I've kind of veered away from some of the others. I basically have made a Forsaken Apothecary. Now the Witch Doctor, it's not really an option. My Hunter, well, I can't be a half-ogre. Tauren are perhaps the most spiritual people on Azeroth. They revere their ancestors, the spirits of the land, and the great vague force they call the Earth Mother. They assisted the Horde in developing their forgotten shamanistic roots. Tauren honor their shaman as they do few others, and their shaman in turn keep their communities in touch with nature and reinvigorate their warriors and hunters with spiritual vigor and purpose. The iconic Tauren shaman is a calm individual. A meditative spirit holds in check her great size and strength She's like a boulder in the tide, steadfast and immobile, watching the world as it changes around her. In battle, however, she is a terrible force, calling upon the spirits to annihilate her foes. Okay, typo. So they lose some of the inspiration, like Purge, Flame Tongue, Frostband, and instead gain an aura of peace. So an effect like fear resistance. Ancestors Call. They gain insight bonus. Yeah, I don't like that spec. Okay, and finally, Troll Barbarian. The standard image of a barbarian is some bloodthirsty crazy, probably an orc, shouting incomprehensible threats and laying about him with a massive axe. Blood flies everywhere. Troll barbarians, however, devote their rage and strength to ranged weapons, flinging axes into their enemies with unerring speed. Perhaps the troll's spears look favorably on these warriors and enhance their abilities, for troll barbarians draw the magic of their weapons into their bodies and are able to impart it to other weapons. The iconic troll barbarian lopes out of the trees, his face painted in fierce tribal colors, his hair standing on end. He grips an axe or spear in each hand. Say hello to my little friend. All right, so they don't have rage. Instead, they have something called Throwstorm Rage, which gives you extra stamina and agility bonus. Add your strength. Oh, if you wanted to have strength added into instead of your agility on your. You could choose to add his strength bonus instead of his agility bonus. Why would you ever do that on thrown weapons? That's weird. Actually, thrown weapons now, they give strength. In addition, after they throw, whatever it, like if you had one magical throwing axe, all of your axes would then have that until you finished raging. Yeah, so if you had like a +2 flaming throwing axe, they would all, you just keep throwing flaming axes. That's kind of cool. And then, of course, that increases with greater throw storm. Okay, so there are also some creature classes. The natural evolution of the racial class. So some of the creature classes we have, it says the basics, you have to be an appropriate creature. So basically only an ogre can take ogre classes. You have to max your creature class before you can add a class like warrior or whatever. They don't get additional hit die. Interesting. That's lame. Okay. So there is the Abomination creature class. That's cool. Abominations are large, strong, virtually brainless amalgams of animated corpses. The Scourge created them from bits and pieces of various corpses, and they served as powerful troops in the Third War. When the Forsaken split from the Lich King's control, they took a number of abominations with them. And so some say the ability to create more. Forsaken abominations guard Undercity and perform various tasks for their masters. Abominations love ripping and tearing apart living creatures. They also are breeding grounds for disease, and clouds of flies and putrid sick surrounds them. Their rotting guts hang from gashes in their stomachs. All of these traits make them poor traveling companions, and most who must deal with abominations make sure they do it from a distance. Abominations are also exceedingly dumb, but they possess enough intelligence for rudimentary problem solving and task resolution. They don't possess much in the way of emotion, though. They have 4 basic states: pleasantly standing around and waiting for orders, being impatient that they aren't killing things, feeling happy because they're on their way to kill things, and being ecstatic when they're actually killing things. If asked to do anything more, for example, to run an errand for its master, an abomination becomes confused. It wants to please its master, that's why necromancers originally created them after all, but tasks that don't involve ripping take brain power that most abominations don't possess. For all these reasons, few abominations are adventurers. An abomination on an adventure is probably a guard or servant for another adventurer, and it serves well if a guard or middling if a servant in that capacity. An abomination adventuring without a master is unheard of, but not unbelievable. If an abomination takes it into its head to go exploring, few are going to stand in its way. Such creatures likely strike out on their own, or perhaps with forsaken allies who tag along. An abomination's disease cloud means that any living creatures who attempt to venture with it have to remain far away or be possessed of remarkably hardy constitutions. So, this description of abominations and how they could represent non-hostile, even playable characters is more reflected in the NPC abominations that we have seen so far in Classic. But think on the evolution of, say, Shadowlands and some of the abominations that you work with, encounter, and so on in that. Huge story. Those could full on are living, thinking, breathing, none of the above except for thinking. Character types. that have personalities and could absolutely quest. A young abomination. When a necromancer creates an abomination, it is a big, mean, deadly creature. It has full hit dice. Therefore, abominations with levels in the class are rare and require special explanation. Perhaps some necromancers create less powerful abominations because that's easier, and perhaps some spellcasters didn't really know what they were doing, accidentally made like a crappy one, or maybe one rose naturally from a place with dark magic and corpses, and then I guess they get more powerful as they go along. Yeah, it'd be weird to level up it as a created creature. They're slow, they have dark vision, they're undead, which gets them all these immunities and immunity and being unaffected by certain spells. They have weird size natural armor. They can cannibalize. They have some spell resistance. They have the rot feature, which is their disease that we carry. Here we have a whole stat block on the abomination class. I take 29 levels of abomination. What the heck? I guess you just wouldn't take anything else. Look, piercing or slashing hook handler. You gain all kinds of skills with this thing. Huh. Spiked chain proficiency, 2-weapon fighting growth. So you can get bigger and bigger as an abomination. Giving a rot cloud a hook handler. They can have a spiked chain with no penalties. And then you get a third arm at a high enough level. That's pretty cool. Actually, it would be kind of... I seriously, legitimately wonder. Because as someone that like loves Dungeons and Dragons, I own so many source books. I definitely own more books and have planned out on my own more characters than I have ever played campaigns, even though I love to play. And I play as like on my own, and I play as part of a weekly little group right now. Right. So that being said, I wonder how many campaigns have ever really in real life ran a serious campaign where you leveled up as an abomination. Like, if there's some rando person out there that has done that, let me know. Let me know how that went, like, way back 15 years ago. How your table campaign went with your abomination class. I just can't picture it. I can picture playing around with it on my own. I just can't picture, like, actually running it. All right, Centaur. Centaur are the cursed offspring of Cenarius. Centaur somewhat resemble his other children, Dryads and Keepers of the Grove. They have the torsos, heads, and arms of humans, and the bodies and legs of horses. Unlike Dryads and Keepers of the Grove, Centaur are barbaric and primitive. They delight in bloodshed and purposeless slaughter. The strongest among them, called Khans, lead them, but only until other stronger Centaur take their places. Centaur are a menace in central Kalimdor, where they've lived for ages. They are ancestral enemies of the Tauren. Indeed, it was Thrall's rescue of Cairn Bloodhoof's tribe from Centaur marauders that cemented their alliance. Many Centaur still live in the Barrens and surrounding areas, staging attacks against small towns and caravans. They are evil and sadistic creatures and enemies of the Horde. Rumors speak of 1 or 2 tribes, however, that overcame their evil natures in hopes to join forces with the Horde. They would provide valuable additions as their speed, strength, and knowledge of the wilderness are great. Most Centaur remain within their own society, striking out with small bands of fellow Centaur to harass travelers in small settlements. A few break from this system, though, and strike out on lives of adventure. Some quarrel with their peers and flee before their enemies kill them. Others feel unsatisfied or horrified at the mindless violence. Most Centaur commit and leave to pursue their own ideas of satisfaction. Adventuring Centaur are unlikely to receive kind welcomes in civilized areas, especially in Kalimdor. In the Eastern Kingdom, Centaur are rare, so traveling Centaur is more likely to draw curiosity than arrows. Other Centaurs see their adventuring kin as not right in the head. Okay, so they're strong, they're tough, they're not that smart. They are a large quadruped. You would think their base land speed would be better, but they have dark skin. They're considered monstrous, not straight up humanoids. See, you can't take that many levels in them. Yeah, you don't get a lot. You get some increased speed. That's about it. So you just get faster and faster. Flippity freaking doodah. All right, playing the Ogre. Ogre is definitely a class I wish you could really play. It is ripe. The only thing that's stopping it is, I guess, they're stupid. They absolutely should let the Ogre be a playable character class. We're going to create new things like the Drakthir. Unnecessary. You're going to create a whole new thing in lore and make it like when you could just use ogres and make one other to go with it. Having arrived in Azeroth through the Dark Portal only 30 years ago, ogres have made themselves a permanent feature of its wilderness. Large, strong, and stupid, most races have realized that ogres are more dangerous than they appear. While they scattered to Azeroth's wild places after the Second War, recently forceful chieftains emerged among them to unite ogre families into strong clans. One such clan, the Stonemaul Ogres, has rejoined the Horde, and many orcs hope that they can recruit other ogre clans as well. Other races see ogres as slow and dumb, and many of them are. However, underestimating an ogre is a good way to get killed. They possess a powerful cunning and an ability to work with each other that surprises their enemies. It is true, though, that ogres are pretty darn stupid, even those with two heads, and that would be so awesome when you're creating it. Do you want to be a two-headed ogre, a regular ogre? It would be so cool. And I don't know, there's like alliance, give the alliance like the Tonka or something like that. Ogre adventurers are not as strange as they may seem at first. While most ogres have a strong sense of camaraderie with their clan members, some have a stronger desire to explore the world. Ogres may adventure to see new places or find new and perhaps more worthy or worthwhile foes to smash. Stonemaul ogres may join bands of other Horde heroes to engage in adventures that further Horde purposes. Other ogres are apathetic about their adventuresome members. If someone wants to go around Azeroth and clobber things, let her go ahead and do it. Traveling ogres receive odd looks when they enter towns, and fellow customers at bars keep their hands near their weapons. But rare is the bartender or mayor who tells an ogre she is not welcome. Maybe that's what it is. I can't think of one ogre female ever. I don't think they even have a character model for that. So they would have to explain that and then make some ogre females. But yeah, I just realized that. Unless some of those are females. In which case, Warcraft has been showing nudity in its game for over a decade. Two-headed ogres, some have two heads. Unfortunately, two heads are not better than one. They rarely get along and are just as dumb as their one-headed brethren. Two-headed is not different from one-headed in terms of game mechanics. You can just choose to have one or two heads, which I like that too. Equal, just like the Tauren, there's not a lot. I mean, the Centaur, there's not a lot. Let's see, anything specific? Not really. They can grow. They get bigger too. That's about it. And otherwise, they just kind of fit them in with their stats. The ogre mages. Why is this getting its own racial trait class? Ogre magi are smarter spellcasting versions of ogres. Ogre magi came into existence in the Second War when the orc warlock Gul'dan carved up an elven runestone and used its mystic powers to imbue ogre enforcers with the ability and intelligence to cast spells. The experiment was a success, with the only noticeable side effect the fact that it turned the ogre's skin blue. Small price to pay for the power they wield. Indeed, blue skin is now a sign of cunning, potential, and might among ogres. In many ways, ogre magi are similar to their less intelligent brethren. They belong to the same society. Because of their intellects and magic powers, ogre magi are often in leadership positions in an ogre clan. However, because they focus on developing their spellcasting potential, they're often not as strong physically as other ogres, and ogre chieftains and warlords are usually mighty barbarians or warriors instead of magi. However, such a leader usually has one or more ogre magi advising and assisting him. Yeah, you could be a warrior. You could be... unless we wanted to make them explore the light, let's scrap paladin, but you could definitely be a death knight with them. Why not be a monk? I think that would be cool. You could be not druid, I don't know, but you could definitely be a shaman. Rogue, probably not. Hunter, maybe. I'm not going to scrap it out, but warlock, mage, definite. In the Second War, warlocks required a series of rituals and an altar of storms created from a sliced piece of elven runestone to turn normal ogres into ogre magi. Alliance forces destroyed many altars of storms in the Second War and its aftermath. The High Elves in particular had a strong desire to eliminate the tainted magic. Few altars still exist, but ogre magi still appear in the most unlikely locales. Some speculate that ogre magi can breed to produce their own kind, while others think that some ogre magi or darker forces have developed a way to create more of them. Whatever the case, though, ogre magi don't appear in the numbers they did in the Second War. They are still a part of Azeroth. Because of their intelligence and the fact that they often desire to search for arcane knowledge to enhance their spellcasting abilities, ogre magi are more likely to adventure than other ogres. Their spells, combined with their physical might, make them self-sufficient. They are uncommon and meet with stares or violence in civilized towns, but they possess the smarts necessary to talk their way out of many volatile situations. Ogre Magi allied with the Stonewall clan are welcome in any Horde settlement, but the Alliance views all ogres as savages and enemies. And you can take 7 levels in this. Their natural armor increases. They gain more stats each time. Gain some more hit die, not a lot each time. Some skill points, but yeah, you're not gaining your spellcasting levels if you pick it. You pick a favored class, but anytime you would increase your ogre mage power, you would give an upper. You would lose the you're going to get bigger and tougher, but you're not improving your spells. They have certain spells inherent to them, like Bloodlust, Eye of Kilrog, Rune Trap. Like normal mages, two-headed ogre magi can have 2 heads. Their heads usually get along with each other. A 2-headed ogre mage is not different from a 1-headed ogre mage in terms of its game mechanics, just as above. Okay, and there's some vital stats. So certain things like Abomination, it doesn't make sense, but this is the age, the weight, and the height. All right, and finally, we're going to end with some feats. So there's a table of feats. We have totemic feats, and let's just kind of look at what these feats are. So there's Banisher of the Light, which helps you be better at fighting holy paladins and priests. Blood Ritualist, you can sacrifice an animal to kind of like ask a question. Cannibalize, we read that one already. Basically, you can eat and heal from corpses, and it befouls a corpse, which means you can't like normally raise it. You craft totem, you can create permanent wooden totems, and then that lets you store a spell in it. So basically, you're kind of like making like low budget ones. Double totem, you're making a double totem, probably you can do 2 spells in it. Enduring totem, it makes them last longer. Evasive totems, the dodge bonus, so basically you're giving your totems the ability to increase your armor class. Totem armor class, or is that, oh no, the totems themselves dodge. Weird. Extra hexes, so people that can hex can do it more often. Extra sting, you can sting more often. Fetish spell, it's a totem type of spell. Look at these little, kind of a neat picture. I think that's like an orc, maybe a shaman. Yeah, shaman casting in a quillbore. Follower of the ancestors, you basically, it says you get a +4 stake. Oh, I see. It basically just buffs one of your abilities. Great build, you're big dude. Light Slayer, again, you're good about fighting the light. You do extra damage to them. Mental Stamina. You can use your Charisma instead of your Stamina for stamina checks. Mind over Matter, same kind of deal. For your hit points, you use your Charisma. Hex Mastery, you're better at hexes. Penetrating Totems, they're better at hitting. Penitent of the Shadow. You have to be part of the Cult of the Forgotten Shadow and tithe to them to get it, but you're stronger against saving against Holy. Reawaken Taste? Oh, it makes it to where even if you're undead, you can still taste stuff. Ritual of Summoning. This is an item creation thing. And what would you summon? Oh, you can unsummon a summon building. Create summon gates. Oh, so it's not creatures. You're making like you are making like summon portals. Shamanistic Inspiration. You can kind of get an insight onto the future. Skittering totems can move around. Snake Dancer lets you tumble and move around. Solid totems get extra hit points. Speaker of the Earth Mother gives you extra strength ability checks and damage reduction if you go into that mode. Speaker of the Fang, you gain better grappling and spirit modifier when you're in that mode. Speaker of the Hoof, you gain extra movement speed. Speaker of the Seed, you can negate crits or backstabs. Speaker of the Sky, resistance to elemental damage. Tame Vermin, probably what it sounds like. Look at this guy with his scorpion. So basically, you could have like scorpions and stuff. That scorpion is ugly. Totem Expansion, bigger AoE effect. Totem Throwing, oh, you can do range totems. That's cool. Totem Protection. You can cast defensive and invisibility type spells on your totems to help them. Twin Weapon Mastery is what it sounds like. Undead Soul. You have to have an undead creature, but it lets you be rezzed even though you're undead. That's cool. And Vision Quest. You have to have done a Vision Quest. And if you have done it, you are now more resistant against enchantment spells. So that's neat. I actually, compared to some of the other feats, I actually think those feats were pretty cool. That would be a lot of those are pretty cool additions. Okay, so we've done it. We have another episode of the Pipe 5x5. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and for listening. I hope you enjoyed the weirdness that we keep reading. I am. See you next time on Lore of Warcraft.